Archaeologists excavating a site in Spain say they've unearthed evidence of what might have been a synagogue used by a previously unknown Jewish community. Hi, it's me and welcome to this channel. While digging at the site of what they thought was a church dating from the 4th century, experts uncovered materials and architectural clues that made them question their long-held assumptions. Instead, they now believe the building may have been a synagogue. The archaeologists were working at a site in the town of Castulo, which was a Roman settlement during the Empire's occupation of the Iberian Peninsula, from around the 3rd century BC to the 5th century AD. As they carefully removed centuries of debris, they began to find artifacts like fragments of oil lamps bearing the image of the Star of David, and a piece of roof tile decorated with menorahs, the candelabra used in synagogues, and no materials that have a clear association with the Christian faith have been found at the site, according to a study published earlier this month in the Journal of Roman Archaeology. But there is evidence of Christian worship at another building in the town. So while the researchers have found nothing that contradicts the possibility of a synagogue here, there are no surviving written records of a Jewish community in Castulo, leaving room for some doubt. To read the full article, click the link in the description below, and you can learn more about ancient synagogues through additional resources. Links in the description. Bautista Ceprian, an archaeologist with the Castulo Sepharad Primera Luz project and the study's author, told CNN on Wednesday that the building has a squarer shape than Christian churches, which tend to be more rectangular. It also has traces of a thick layer of plaster, which may have helped to obscure inscriptions or images on the walls. The team also found what could have been a hole for supporting a large menorah, as well as the foundations of a central raised platform, or bima, where the Torah is read from on Saturdays and Jewish holidays. These features are typical of synagogues, but not of churches, although some scholars note that early Christian communities sometimes used a similar raised platform for communal meals. Excavations at the site also revealed traces of everyday life, including a bathhouse, rooms with stoves for cooking and heating, and street and house remains, but no tombs were found inside or near the building. Given its proximity to an abandoned Roman temple, which would have been associated with paganism, it's unlikely that Christian residents would have wanted to be buried nearby, said Ceprian. Christians generally viewed paganism as a false religion and feared its influence. The building was constructed along the same axis as a nearby theater, which had been built in the 2nd century AD, and there are similarities between certain areas of the structure and the layout of a synagogue. In the nearby city of Cordoba, which dates from the 4th century, the discovery of these shared architectural features points to the likelihood that both buildings served as synagogues, Ceprian said. The researchers believe the most likely explanation is that the building was part of a house where a Jewish family gathered to pray, according to the study. But it's also possible that the structure functioned as a synagogue in the broader sense, a place of worship used by the Jewish community at large. While it is impossible to determine whether this was a private family space or a communal building, without further evidence, the presence of a bima suggests the latter. According to Seth View, an archaeologist at the University of Minnesota who was not involved in the excavations, a bima is generally too large to be used by just one family. In addition to the similarities with Cordoval Synagogue, the size of the room and the traces of plaster on the walls suggest that the building was used for public gatherings. A small domestic interior would not need to be plastered, and rooms this size were typically used for communal activities in this period, according to Schaefer. Ceprian told CNN that the building's location near an abandoned Roman temple may offer clues about the identity of the people who used it as a place of worship. The Jewish and Christian communities in the region maintained close and friendly relations, but as Christianity grew in prominence, it became more demonized. By the late 4th century, Christian clergy began to take greater control of public life and fanned fears that Jews were plotting to harm Jesus and spread heresy. By the late 4th and early 5th centuries, Jewish citizens were pressured to convert to Christianity, with those who refused being asked to leave their hometowns. This type of incident could plausibly have taken place in Castulo at some point between the end of the 5th century and the beginning of the 7th century. Ceprian told CNN that it is difficult to know what would have happened to the people living in Castulo. One possible explanation is that the Christian clergy suspected the local population of wanting to convert to Judaism and destroyed the synagogue as a precautionary measure. However, the relationship between Christians and Jews at this time was complex, and it is possible that the people of Castulo were forced to convert or leave due to anti-Jewish violence. In either case, there is no record of a Jewish community in Castulo in the anti-Jewish law enacted by Visigoth King Sisebut, who ruled what is now Spain from 612 to 621, whereas the Jewish communities in other nearby towns are specifically named. In a statement, the study authors write that the building's exact function remains uncertain, but the totality of the available evidence supports its identification as a synagogue. For his part, Skeptran told CNN that the findings suggest the existence of a previously unknown Jewish community. He explained that the building was probably used as a place of worship by a Jewish community that currently has no historical record, but which may have been documented in other archaeological findings. For example, traces of a ritual bath known as a mikveh, which is used for ritual purification, have been found at a nearby site. According to Schaefer, this discovery offers a valuable glimpse into a rarely studied period and location in Jewish history. He stated in a statement that this is a rare archaeological find of a potential Jewish house synagogue from late antiquity in the Iberian Peninsula. If indeed it turns out to be a synagogue, the excavations at Castulo began in 1988, and the research team plans to continue digging to uncover more information about the site and its inhabitants. The ultimate goal is to allow visitors to explore the site in the future. Skeptran told CNN that the team cannot rule out the possibility of finding more definitive evidence that will allow them to update their hypothesis from a possible synagogue to a confirmed synagogue. In the meantime, the team will work to protect the site, which is located on private land. Skeptran said in a statement, quote, "It is very gratifying to contribute with our work to the safeguard of a heritage as valuable as this one. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more. And thanks to all of our supporters for making videos like this one possible."